In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen. First, I want to thank Ms. Karen to invite me today to talk to you about our faith. Our faith is called Coptic Christians, and it's kind of orthodox.
Speak up. I don't have a mic here.
Also, it's called orthodox in the first place, and orthodox is like a straight faith. The Copt word coming from, basically from a Greek word called Egyptos, okay? And Greek people took it from our hieroglyph word, which Egypta. It's hieroglyph, Coptic thing. And hieroglyph describe, it means like two separate things. Ta means God of creation, fertility at this time, and the ancient Egyptians were worshipping it. So this is where we got our name Coptic. And now we call everybody that live in Egypt and Christian is Coptic Christian. And the Coptic people immigrated all over the world. We still call them Coptic too. We have Coptic art, which is like have a unique style. It's different than the European one, and it's almost 2,000 years, and still as is. If you go to any Coptic church, you'll see like a spirit, like you see like our soul there. It's different. Let's talk about the Coptic language. Unfortunately, it died. Like we don't speak Coptic in our houses, unfortunately. I will tell you about this later on and how we lost it. So I will talk a little bit about Egypt before Christianity. At this time, Roman been over Egypt. Egypt was a Roman colony, and unfortunately, they didn't like the Christianity because they had their own God, and they've been torching Christian for years and years. And Alexandria at this time was the second city after Rome. Rome was the first, and then Alexandria, which is our home city. And Alexandria was like very famous with school, and we exported philosophy and science all over the world. And let's say that we still have it till now. Even in America, we have one in LA, one in New Jersey, and we have one in Alexandria and one in Cairo. So we have a four, and still till now for 2,000 years. And actually, Roman like put lots of taxes on Coptic people, lots of, and it reached like 20 million dinars at this time. That's a lot. They took our crops and they exported to Rome. Mainly we had wheat. The main agriculture there is citrus and wheat. So they've been interested in the crops and taking the taxes. Lots of taxes have been taken from Christians, or at this time the ancient Egyptians, until until Christ came, and before Christianity, Jesus visited Egypt. The Holy Family visited Egypt, and everybody knows that. They remained there for 3 years. So my personal opinion is, if you're ever going to visit the Holy Land in Israel, you need to visit Egypt to complete your trip, because the Holy Family spent 3 years there. If I can show you the map here. This is the most famous, you can read that to the Holy Family. This is a very famous icon there. Joseph, Virgin Mary, and Christ. We always put the pyramids. And then, can you go back to, so the Holy Family came from here, from Israel. They go all the way from here. They get back to Cairo, and they moved all the way down to South Egypt. And actually, you know that Joseph was a carpenter. He was like working construction, but we used to say Joseph the carpenter. But when my family, we went to the Holy Land last month, the tradition said that Joseph was not only a carpenter, he was like a handyman. He was doing everything. So somewhere here, go to the other one. Yeah. Somewhere here, so he goes all the way, went down, and settled here, and he built his first house here. So Virgin Mary with Christ lived in this city called Ashkelon. And you see how it's in the middle of Egypt exactly. And I'll tell you why. This was a prophecy being told in the Old Testament. When Israel was a child, I loved him, and out of Egypt I called my son. Okay? This was in Hosea 11:1. And also in Isaiah 19:19, and that day, and that day there will be an altar to the Lord in the heart of Egypt, and a monument to the Lord at its border. So the first church felt here as the heart of Egypt, as the Bible said in the Old Testament. So this turned the house of Jesus that he built turned to be a church, and now it's a monastery, and it's still there. I can show you. Can you get that, Nina? It's a Maharak monastery. Yeah, that's it. This is a monastery. This is where he built his house. Okay? That's before the Christianity entered Egypt. And it turned to be a monastery. The next one. This altar, this is exactly where Virgin Mary and Christ lived. And an altar here that I read the verse to you right now. So this is the heart of Egypt. And the altar is still there. But one of the popes tried to renew it one day, and he had a dream not to touch it. So he came out with, canceled his thinking and said, I'm not going to touch it. So this altar is still there for so many years. But when you go to Egypt, you have to go to Ashkelon, this city, and visit the first church. It was the Virgin Mary Church inside the Amharic monastery, and they call it Second Jerusalem. We call it Second Jerusalem. Some people, like some countries like Ethiopia, the Ethiopian people, when they go to the Holy Land in Israel, they have to complete their trip to be completed by visiting this monastery. Okay? Okay, and now let's start about this before Christianity. Let's start about how it started. Saint Mark came to Egypt after ascension of Christ, 20 years after. He came to Egypt, came to Alexandria, which I told you that it was a busy city. It has so many population. It has Roman, Greek, it has Egyptian, of course, and it has Jewish people. And actually Jewish people population was the highest after Israel at this time. And he started to preach, and in 50 years after that, Egypt completely became Christian, completely. So they converted to Christianity, and they took the straight faith from him. He even killed in my city. Roman did not. I told you that Roman has their own gods, and they didn't like Christianity. They didn't like that they worship another one. So they didn't like this, and they killed him. We say that our city, and actually they grabbed him, so his blood went all over the city. That's why the city is so sacred, that his pure sacred blood had been shed in our city. So we still have the Pope. They call our Pope of Alexandria till now, because he took over San Mark. Okay. And after that, the Romans started to kill people badly. So I'm going to tell you a story. It was the most famous in our history. It happened in South Egypt. As I show you the map in South. One day the emperor of Rome said that kill all the Christians around the world. And the ruler of Egypt went to a city called Akhmin. It's a government, it's a small, let's say it's a town, it's not a big city. And it was Christmas Eve at this time. And he started to kill everybody. He didn't even think about old, young, babies. He didn't care. And he killed 8,142 people, including kids and old people. And they say that the blood been coming out of the church like stream. And until now, the sewer, they cannot do the sewer there. Each time the government tried to dig the ground, they found blood. It's 2,000 years. I'm talking about years 303, okay, after Christ. And each time they dig, they found blood. So they just put some ash on it and they said we cannot do it. Until now, in this street, many people that visit this city, they hear the sword sounds and screaming of the kids. Until now, at the middle of the night, they still hear it. I'm going to show you some pictures. It's kind of, you know that Christ said, if you die for me, you won't die. You will remain. You will stay alive, right? So imagine that this is 2,000 years, and this martyr is still bleeding till now. Can you go? See this one? He's smiling. He still has the teeth, the nose, the eye, and everything, and his body did not decay. So God preserved him. They found so many, and we have a monastery there called Martyrs Monastery, and it's located in South Egypt as well. This little kid is a martyr too, and we didn't know his name until we visit, like from time to time, all Coptic Christians go to our monasteries and visit. So one day we had a trip to the monastery, and we saw the bodies, and one of them like called to know the names. So he came to her out of his glass. All of them is like in glass boxes, and he got out of the glass boxes, and she said that the skin was the same color, but his face was light up, like he was like a light coming out of his face. And he told her that my name is Zachariah, and I'm a little kid that died in Akhmin, which is a city. And I saw when everybody got killed, the angel came, put a crown on their head, and take their souls to heaven. So he was like so thrilled, and not screaming, but screaming happily that he saw the angels take his, the people he knows to heaven. So the ruler did not like that, and he ordered to cut his tongue. And when he cut his tongue, the angel Michael came to him, and he healed his tongue, and he started to do the same cheer up again. And when he got sick of it, like he burned him with his father. So imagine burning him to death, and the skin still as is and everything. So they remain there. If anybody ever went to Egypt, you can go to the city and visit the martyr. This is one of the martyrs, and her hair is still growing. So she's alive. How come a hair after 2,000 years still grows? So monks there from time to time cut it because it's too long. So she's still alive. This has a very interesting story that she's a mom, and both of them like been killed in this horrible thing. But they found her in a mountain, and they put her, and she started to scream. And then the monks started to think what's going on. They started to bring another body. When they found another, they put, and she started screaming again and again, until they found this little baby daughter or son, and they put it beside her, and she stopped screaming. So it's a sad story, but this is what Coptic Christians went through all the years. We are here because those people did not want to convert. He didn't want to. Once we got, you know that even Egyptians been worshipping statues, you know, from the old history, 5,000, 7,000 years, you know the statues, the temples we had. But once they had the face, once they touched the Jesus sweetness, and once they know the lights, they never went back to darkness. They never. Even they killed them. But imagine a lady, like a mom, can sacrifice a son for Christ. How she felt. But she gave the son willingly to Christ. Because she knows there is another life up there waiting for her. And if she converts, she never going to reach nothing. She will lose her life here and up there in heaven. So 8,000 people died in there. Okay? So after that, about 305, they convert to, yeah, this is, she appeared in a dream to somebody and she told them her name and everything, and she's a grandma. And she said, okay, call me grandma, she likes people to call her grandma. And then 305, the emperor passed away, and another one came to rule the world, and he actually get involved with Christianity, but in a different way. He was Christian, but they forced the Coptic to, not to convert, but to get their beliefs, which is different than Coptic belief. We believe that Christ is a God and a man. So he's a complete God and a complete man at the same time. They are united, but they are not mixed. But they said that Christ is a God that observes human food inside, so he's only a God. We refuse that. He's both, he's perfect in both. He's a man and God at the same time. So they started even to chase them, even Roman, after they became Christians, they started to chase them and kill them, the same thing. And even the Pope ran away from them not to kill him or torture him. So they still there, and they were not, Coptic Christians were not allowed to own any lands. It's their country, but they were not allowed. And until in 642, yeah, 642, the Muslims came to Egypt and Copt helped them. They thought they might be much better than Roman. And they helped them to enter the country, and they entered there. The leader name is Amr ibn Las, and he is famous leader. He was okay, and he let the Pope get back to his seat, and he let everybody enjoy the religious freedom. And actually, they make the taxes less, maybe 12 million instead of 20 millions. And he put Christians, Coptic Christians, to government works, and they liked that. And it lasted for a while, until another ruler came, and he put more tax on them. And he took taxes on everything. Fisher, if you're fishing, he takes taxes. If you're a villager, whatever, if you are in industry, whatever you do, he takes taxes. And they got so wild to take taxes on dead people, on Christians. I mean, only Coptic Christians. So if a Coptic Christian passed away, he forced his relative to pay taxes on him. He took, yeah, that's the way it was. And then he took taxes from the bishops, the pope, the priests, more than regular people. So some of the Coptic Christians really couldn't make it, and they converted. So they didn't like that. They converted to Islam, a small amount. But he said they didn't like that. So he said, okay, even if you are converted to Islam, we still have to pay taxes. And Coptic Christians were not allowed to go to army, so they have to pay not a fine, but like it's a form of taxes. They call it jizya, and they had to pay it for so many years. So more and more taxes, because they want to expand the Arabic nations. They want to get another countries, not only Egypt. So they needed the money. So the Coptic Christian situation became worse and worse until they started to make revolution here and there, and they said send armies to kill them as well. So it ended up the same thing, okay? And at this point of and I think in the 7th century they said no more Coptic. They did something very bad. They said they encouraged Bedouin to come to Egypt because they wanted the Coptic Christian population to be as the same as them. So they brought more Bedouin to our country to make the population equal. And this harmed it. They did not take care of education. I told you that Alexandria was the best in the world. The best in everything. And because they just neglect education, we became nothing. And this ended up like killing the Coptic language in the 7th century. And we're not using it because they make it like a formal language of the country. And at this point, we still speak this language inside the churches. We pray in Coptic, but we do not make conversation at home with my wife or my son in Coptic. My elder son knows it because he's a deacon for so many years, so he had to learn it to be able to do the hymns and stuff, okay? At this Arabic period, I want to tell you a story because we always show off and say, we move the mountain. Our faith moves the mountain. It's in the Bible that Jesus said if you have very small faith, like you can tell this mountain move from here to there and the mountain will obey. So, yeah, there's a man called Simon, okay, and he's a shoemaker. And then he's the one who moved the mountain. This is the mountain that moved from inside this church. We visited, me and the kids and my wife, we visited when we were there. It's, you see the rocks of the church inside the mountain. What happened is the Arabic ruler at this time had a Jewish minister who converted to Islam to get the position. And he didn't like the Christian so much. So he kept on digging both in the Bible until he found this verse I told you about, that if you have faith, you can tell this mountain to move from here to there, it will move. And he came to the Arabic ruler and said, okay, if this is what their book said, if they did not move the mountain, we can kill them all. We don't need them. Because their book will be fake, and we don't need such a fuss for nothing. So the Arabic ruler wrote our Pope at this time and spoke to him, and he said, I don't want this mountain. Move it. You have 3 days to move it. If you didn't move it, I will kill all the Christians. So he went back sad, and he declared the state of fasting and praying for 3 days. So all the Coptic Christians did not eat for 3 days or drink, only praying and make liturgy. Until Virgin Mary came to the Pope in a dream and told him, you're not the one who's going to move the mountain. Go to this place, you will find a man called Simon. And Simon is the one who's going to do it. So the Pope went up where she told him to go. And he found a shoemaker, such a poor man sitting, making some stitches and old shoes. And he found him with one eye. Can you get the picture again? I don't know the picture. He's a one-eye man. It's not that weird here. What happened is, he asked him, how did you lose your eye? He said, I'm praying all day while I'm working, and then the devil got sick of me. And one day the devil came in the form of a lady, and once he came at the front of him, he took off his clothes. And he was so simple. He had, the shoemaker has a long needle. He just put in his eyes. He just followed the Bible without thinking. I'm not saying that we do this, but this is how simple he was, that he just said, if your eye will make you go to hell or will make you sin, take it off. It's better to go to the heaven with one eye than going to hell. So he just executed what he just said, that simple. And this is the one who moved the mountain. But he told the Pope, okay, I don't want to appear, I don't want to be in the picture. I will be behind you, okay, on Sunday. And I don't want people to know me. I want to live like this and die like this. So when they've been worshiping the mountain was on earth. Once they stand up, the mountain raised and follow them. And you see the Arab people here saw the sun under the mountain. And this is a very famous icon. So the church that you see a while ago is where the mountain really located in its new place. It was thunder, it was a great voice, and people have been so terrified at this day. They couldn't believe that the mountain can really move, but it moved. We moved the mountain by faith. Okay? So this is the second story. Actually the Arab been ruling Egypt for so long. The education was not that good, and you know that Egypt was the best country in the world. We exported the philosophy, the science, and even now, the science, the new modern science cannot reach what the Egyptians did 5,000 years ago. But we came worse and worse until Turkey came to Egypt and took over the Arabs. And they ruled Egypt for like 400 years, and it was more and more worse. Like bad education, Egypt has a very unique site, like it's in the middle of the world. The weather is fantastic, not cold and not hot, and we have the crops at this time, we have the agriculture. So they use Egypt as a field, take the crops and the stuff to their countries and take taxes, and that's how it is. That's why they neglect education usually, except some years, but generally they did neglect education. Until British people came to Egypt in 1880 something, and they've been there until 1952. Okay. Actually, British people and French people took over 3 years. They started to translate. Actually, the French people are the one who solved the mystery of our hieroglyphs letters. So until the French came to Egypt, nobody knew lots of secrets that we know now. Now we can read their writing, we can read their books about the soul will come back, about their poem, about their writing. Now we can read it, but before, you ever seen the hieroglyphs? It's like birds, and it's kind of, they did that. So now we know the alphabet, they solve a lot. Until the army took over in 1952 and kicked out the British people. And the English language became our second language, like here Spanish language, there is the English language. And the army took over from 1952 until now. I think the modern history, or what we've been suffering for the last few years, being a put in a documentary movie, I don't know if you ever, Miss Karen said that you're gonna watch it at some point.
I watched it, I don't remember if any of my other kids got a chance to watch it.
Yeah.
I did watch it. Just
Okay,
for
so-
all of you and me.
Yeah, the link is on YouTube, so Miss Karen can just send you the link. I skipped it because it's in a documentary. Mina put it in like 10 minutes or something. It will describe our situation last few years. I mean, like killing, attacking churches, burning churches. Sometimes they, like when Muslim Brotherhood in there, they burn like at least 100 churches. They burn it. It turned to be like a charcoal. Okay, this is the history part now. Our church, as I told you, that we have a very, very fixed faith. We don't change it. The hymns is 2,000 years. Nobody can touch it. Nobody can change one word, one letter. It's unacceptable. My father will teach me, and I will teach my son, and so on. And the church, from generation to generation, we teach our kids to this great faith, to be knowledgeable of our faith. We have 7 sacraments. I forgot to tell you something very important. Who knows the first monk in the world? Do you know his name?
First monk.
First monk. Christian monk. Okay. His name is, he's Egyptian, and his name in our language, Antonios, but in English it's Anthony. He was a rich man, a rich young man. That's him. A rich young man, that his father passed away, and he was standing at the front of his father dead and was thinking what all this money would do to him. He passed away. He gave me a lot of money now. He left it for me. What am I going to do? I would be ending up the same thing, laying on the bed, and then in a tomb, in a tomb, and I would lose my life. So he was thinking and thinking, and then one day he went to church, and the sermon was about this. Matthew 19:21. If you want to be perfect, go sell your possessions and give to the poor, and you will have treasure in heaven. Then come follow me. So he heard one verse, and he decided. He just took all. He was rich, so he took all his money, sold all his land, give it to the poor. He had a sister, and she put her in a virgin house at this time. And he went to the Nile River, and he started to pray. Until one day, an angel. We are talking about the first, no monk before, no monsters, nothing. And then one day, an angel came to him in the form of man because he got bored. Like, he was praying and sitting, praying and sleeping, so he got bored. He didn't know what to do. So the angel came to him in the form of man. And you know that Egypt is famous for tall trees. So there is a very traditional industry there, which is basket made of palm trees. I think you saw it somewhere. Maybe it's sold here in some craft shops. So he was praying with him and sitting down to do some baskets and then pray again and do some baskets while he's praying. And then he showed him the dress of monks and the hair color. And this is still there until nowadays. So it lasts until now. And it's I tell you that after Saint Anthony, which is the father of all monks in the world and all nuns in the world, he was lonely. Like he chose to be alone. Like after a century of that, like I can say that we had thousands and thousands of caves and hundreds of monasteries built after him. We have the monks. Some monks do not like to live in the middle of other monks, so they go. We have mountains and mountains at some holes, some caves, and lots of them just go to caves and live all their lives. We have millions and millions of stories about those monks who lived in caves and God supported them for so many years until they passed away. Like one of them, like been supported by a bird for so many years, give him a piece of bread every day. So the bird was coming every day to give him a piece of bread until he passed away. We have millions and millions of stories. I cannot just tell you. So after this, you know, every time you see a nun or a monk walk in the street, you remember the Coptic Christian man who started the monk life or monasteries. Now let's go to our sacraments, which is the most important thing in our church. We have 7 of them. The first one is sacramental baptism. This is the first. You cannot be Christian until you baptize first. So the kids go to the church and everything is done by priests, okay? And the priest baptized them. And we have to immerse them completely in the water. I forget to put the picture because when I was in the Holy Land, we saw the picture there that the people are completely immersed in the water. So this is how it was and how Jesus wants us to do it. We depend on the verse said that go therefore and make disciples of all nations, baptizing them in the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. So it's kind of, this is what Jesus told us. So he told us we have to get baptized. Okay, so this is the first. Before this one, we cannot go on. The second one is called sacrament of confirmation. It's we call it like sacrament of myron. Myron is a Greek word meaning like fragrance. So the priest after baptism gave this. It's oil. Put the sign of cross 36 times on the baby. He put the sign of cross on the senses and joints. It's a symbol that we are a temple of God. It's a reminder that you cannot sin. Each time you will sin by your eyes or tongue or hearing or even the joints that will take us to do the sin. We remember that we are a temple of God. We are guarded by the sign of cross. Okay. The third one is confession of repentance. We confess, like, I think you are familiar with the Catholic confession. We do the same thing. We go to the priest and we confess. And by the authority given to the priest, he read the prayer, and then we are white, like a snow white, like an ice again. Once we repent and confess, we start again and again. And this is a good chance that Jesus gave us. That no matter how sinners we are, we always can be white again, like an ice. That's what he said. The fourth one is the Holy Communion. We strongly, this is the secret of all secrets, we strongly believe that on the altar, the bread and wine convert to be a real flesh and a real blood of Christ. It's not a symbol, it's not. It's a real. During the liturgy, the bread and the blood turn to be real blood and real flesh of Christ. There's a verse here. He took bread, blessed it, broke it, and gave it to his disciples and said, "Take, eat, this is my body." Then he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to his disciples, saying, "Drink from it, all of you, for this is my blood at the new covenant, which is shed for many for the remission." So, depending on this verse, we strongly believe that it's real blood and a real flesh. We have a recent, I'm sorry, the Coptic history is so rich, so we have millions of stories, millions of saints. So every time I talk about something, I remember a saint, so I'm going to tell you this very fast. Recently, like around 1960 or something, a man like me or anybody, he was working, and then one day,
The choir has to leave.
Sorry. They have to sing. We would love for it to be video so we could watch them.
They're special.
Oh, yeah. No, we're not special.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. That's fine. So he met a man that he was Coptic Christian, and he was walking the street going to church one day, and he met someone and told him, "This is not true. This is not the true blood, and this is not true body. This is a fake. This is only a memory. We just memorized Christ." So he just turned his head, and he was walking to the church, and he was so embarrassed to go farther, approaching the altar. So he just waited at the end of the church, and he was crying. And then he looked at the altar. He found a little sheep, a little lamb walking on the altar, with some cutting on his throat until he reached the glass, and he dropped some blood in the glass. And he spent his rest was like crying that he made a sin, because this is a real blood and real bread. Let's go to the marriage sacrament. We believe that man and woman united in one, and the marriage after prayer in church. We don't have divorce. We don't accept divorce. There is no divorce in Christianity. It's only in one case, adultery, and that's about it. So it says, for this reason a man shall leave his father and mother and be joined to his wife, and the two shall become one flesh. So then they are no longer two, but one flesh. Therefore, what God joined together, let not man separate. So we do not get separate, we don't have divorce. We have divorce only in one case, which is committing adultery from one of them. And we must have some witness. It's not like, oh, I want to divorce my wife and go, no. I won't be allowed to marry another lady. And I won't be allowed to go to other sacraments, like I cannot go for communion, I cannot participate in the church, because I would be, if I marry another one, I would be committing adultery, and this is not acceptable. The priesthood, sacrament of priesthood. The priesthood is a candidate now. The bishop or the pope put his hand on and pray, and he becomes priest. And from this moment, the priest has to do all the other sacraments that we talked about. We have liturgy. I don't know if you ever attend Catholic church. We have liturgy. We have liturgy as well. There are three different, not different, but there are three ways of liturgy. We have Saint Basil liturgy, Saint Gregory, and Saint Mark liturgy. And actually, Saint Mark is the one who came to Egypt and make us Christians. So he had one of those, and it was in Greek language and translated to Coptic language. The most important topic here we face that people always ask us, how about women? How do you treat women in Coptic Christianity? Actually, the first thing, I just said that we don't have divorce, so it's a great respect that we do not separate them so that we can just be suffering for the rest of our life with kids, and we will be together forever, and this is kind of respect. Also, Jesus attended wedding, which is blessed, that has man and woman together at the same situation. So he did not say that men over ladies. No, we are equal. And we all remember Mary and Martha, brother of Lazarus. Sorry, sisters of Lazarus. And we remember that one of Martha was like serving. Was so busy making food and stuff, and Mary was always sitting on the ground under his feet to listen to his preaching. And one day she got a very expensive fragrance, and she put it on Jesus' feet, and she dried his feet with her hair. And if we keep on thinking about what happened, it's two things. In the Old Testament, when they want to make a man to be like a king, they've been doing the same thing. They get like a very, very expensive fragrance and put it on him. So Mary declared that he's a king. So God opened her eyes to do this, and let her do this, and she's a lady. No man did that, but she did. Okay? And she was sitting listening to the preaching. And I think after all the preaching she heard, she would tell the word after that. But the most important thing that she predicted she's going to die. Because the way they've been taking care of dead people, they've been putting like the same thing, very good fragrance on the dead people. So a lady predicted that Jesus is a king, and she predicted that Jesus will die soon. And no one of his disciples, the men disciples, no one knew that. So I think it's a great respect for ladies. At the cross, who did it? Who remember? I think like more than 3 ladies and 1 man. John was there, he's the only man, and all of us went away, scared. His mom was there, Virgin Mary, and her sister was there, Mary, and Mary the Magdalene were there. What about the Easter? Who the first saw him? A lady. Mary the Magdalene, she met him. So it's this conversation all the time. People think because of the media that because we are from the Middle East, they think that we underestimate ladies. Well, we don't. Actually, we do respect ladies more than any other, because it shows, like, for example, like in church, ladies has to put something on her hair, like just to cover her hair. If you saw Jesus movie, even Jesus before he prayed, he put something on his hair. It's kind of respect to God, and ladies do that in church. It's like, as a liturgy, she cannot, no way that she can pray without her hair covered like this. So we are equal, and there's no such a thing that man is over ladies and treat her bad. No, they are one body, so how can I abuse my own body? So this is in the Bible, that she is my body and I want allowed to abuse her or beat her. Or, no, we don't do that. Of course, there's some people, but this is, it's like a criminal do something. It doesn't mean like everybody's criminals, no. But here and there, we might have some cases. There's some people ask for divorce, and many people are asking for divorce, but if they are crazy, if somebody think of some other lady want to get married and he's separate from his wife, but he goes to church, I want to get divorced, but the church will not give him divorce until he proves that she did something wrong, adopted or something. So he doesn't get married. So this is not everything, but I try to summarize everything. Our history is so rich. Like I taught you for like 2 days and I'm not going to finish. So I try to summarize everything, so to give you an idea how our faith, and it's something ancient, plus it's something from the East which nobody really know much about it. So thank you, Karen.
Thank you, Amir, for coming. Does anybody have any questions for Amir or Mina or Rhonda?
Is there a church?
Around here, yeah. The nearest one to here is in Hightown. It's Virgin Mary Church, and you are most welcome to come and see it. I will tour you, or Mina, or we have many deacons there who will help you out. We can find like a date or appointment. You can attend one of our liturgy, and then we can have like we can get breakfast, and then I will show you the church and discuss more.
I have a question. A lot of what you said made me feel like you're very closely associated with the Catholic religion. What makes you different from the Catholic religion?
I cannot say that because our Pope and their Pope recently met, because before we cannot get married, for example, but now I can marry my son can marry the Catholic Church, it's done. It's one baptism. He said, our Pope said it's one baptism and that's it. So me and I can marry the Catholic here, that's no problem. No. So we're good.
Marry a Lutheran.
No, she has to baptize.
She has to what? We are
Baptized in our faith.
Oh,
And she has to know the faith that I told you. I'm not, I know some, but I'm not really getting involved in the faith here.
Right, yes.
But if there's a difference in able to let her go to communion, she has to be baptized first, and then the priest and deacons will teach her everything about the faith, and then they can get married.
Is your faith similar to the Greek Orthodox?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so I was wondering if your art was more like the Byzantine, when you talk
Yes.
about the icons.
Yes, it is. It is. Yeah, if you go to any Greek church and see the, actually we have some saints we both have in our churches. If you know.
Similarities,
Yeah, it's the same ones, exactly same ones. Yeah, they are so close. And actually it's kind of strange. I know some Russian. So when you go, for example, to say Easter, it's Pascha in our Coptic language, and in Greek it's the same thing, in Russian it's Pascha. And I got shocked the first time, and then when I kept on searching, I found out the Pascha is really means that it's a crossover. So Jesus took us from death and Passover, July, when he resurrected. So it's really implement the word very good, even better than other languages. So even in word we are close. When I was reading, I said that there is Maroon after baptism. They put Maroon is a Greek word. It means like a good smell fragrance. So we take this word from them. Some liturgy, some hymns are in Greek. Some of them, yeah. Yeah, we are so close. Russian too, we are so close.
So do you follow that calendar versus,
They following our.
they follow yours? Okay. Because I
We
know.
are 7,000 years. I will tell you something very quickly. I'm not trying to consume time, but I'm sorry. You just opened it. You know, the pyramids. We have a hole in pyramids. When they design the pyramid, they design it at the birth of the king. Okay? So each year, for 5,000 years, the sun will enter from this hole and reflect on a place that king been buried in. For 5,000 years, the sun never missed. So this is how accurate our calendar is. So that's why we celebrate, and we have our Coptic month. It's different than European. It's different here. So we should celebrate, for example, Christmas on the 7th of January, while here is 25th.
Okay, so in other words, it's 12th night for you, for what we would call the 12th night.
It's 29th of our Coptic month. Whatever the 29th will be in European calendar, it might be after 100 years, it's going to be 6 or 8, whatever. But we do follow that. So all East Europe follow us. Like the Russian Church, Greek Church, Romania, just name it, Yugoslavia, all the East Europe is following us. So we still celebrate Christmas on 7th. I mean, it's just a symbol, like it's Christmas. Jesus came, and that's the only thing that matters. That's what I say. Until the Pope someday, the East and West sit together and make it one day, it would be a pleasure for everybody, I guess.
You mentioned your cross. You said your cross. Is it different than ours? Is it like a Byzantine cross or the cross of Lorraine, or do you have the crucifix on the cross?
We have the same cross, no, there's no difference. When I said our cross, I said the cross, the sign of cross. After baptism, the priest take this holy oil and put the sign of cross on joints and senses.
But the cross that you would wear, or the cross that he was holding, did not have.
It's the same, no, exactly. No.
So it's not the same as a Roman Catholic cross.
It is. Which picture? Show me the picture. Maybe
Saint Anthony.
Saint Tony.
His cross was just a plain cross. Yeah.
Without Christ.
But it doesn't have he's not holding the.
No, this is, we are talking about very, very ancient, but nowadays the priests are having the cross with Christ on them. Doesn't make any difference. It's a cross. Because those people been so humble. It might be a cross from a branch of a tree, and he made it handmade.
Yeah.
So he couldn't just make a statue to put it on. They've been so humble people. Some of them make like a branch of a tree and put another branch here and use it as a cane and still a cross. Many of them did that. So it's just a symbol. No, we don't have a specific cross. We don't know. It's the same. And when we went to Jerusalem, it's the same everywhere. The same. We've been exactly at the rocks that Jesus crucified on, and the drawing and the picture are the same.
With my ignorance of Middle East or of your people, if you would, on the dollar bill on the back is a pyramid with an eye above it. Does that have any, you mentioned the one eye that he poked. Is there any significance
No, it's
with that?
hieroglyph thing. I told you that hieroglyphs has a very unique alphabet. It's just one of them. It doesn't mean anything with Christianity, no.
That's on the doctrine.
No. This was an accident. I'm just showing you how the people have been so faithful at this time, and how they did what Jesus said without even thinking. And with this humble man, a shoemaker can move a mountain because he was with this heart.
So you're saying that Coptic church, though, predates the Christian church, is that true? Is that what you're saying?
Coptic church what?
It comes before.
Comes before. The Coptics were
Yeah.
before the Christians, right?
Coptic is Christian. Coptic is the people. Coptic means like the people of Egypt.
The people of
Just
Egypt,
the people of
okay.
Egypt. They call us Copts.
Okay,
I'm a
okay,
Coptic
all
Christian.
right.
It's like you're American.
Okay.
I'm Coptic.
All right.
You're American Christian. I'm
Yeah.
Coptic Christian.
Yeah.
Okay.
So the Coptic people were Egyptians who were worshiping many gods at one time?
No.
No, they never did.
No, only
They always
Christian-
believed in one
only-
God.
So the Muslim Egyptian now are not Coptic.
Oh, okay.
They are not.
Yeah,
They are Arabic. They are Arab people. They are not us. We
Okay.
are Coptic. We are the main origin people of Egypt.
Okay.
And they came, I call it, they came like 600 after Christ to Egypt, and they, with their religion, and we did not mix, we don't marry from them, and they don't marry from us. We kept the faith, and we are the true people of Egypt.
And what about the Gnostics? How do they fit in with the Coptics? They don't. You don't. So what about the Dead Sea Scrolls? Do you, when they were found, you don't do anything with that? The Dead Sea Scrolls with the different gospels there? No, okay, you just have.
What I know from our history that our, the Bible translated to Coptic language from Greek
Okay,
completely.
all right.
So sometimes, because I told you that we convert the language to be Arabic now, so the Arabic language, the Bible also is written in Arabic, which is close to our mind because we study there, we live there. But sometimes when I get confused, sometimes the Arabics do not really tell us what's going on. So sometimes I go to other translations to understand what's going on, like English,
Yeah.
Russian, or Greek,
Good, yeah.
yeah.
to get to the origin. Even in English sometimes, like in John, like in the beginning it was the Word, and Word was God, and so on. What the word, when you read even in English, you don't get much, right? So you dig more and more. So when you go to other translation, like Latin, you will see like in the beginning it was Logos. And when you go more, what's Logos mean? It's a spirit of God. So now we understand. In the beginning it was the spirit of God. Now we understand. So and so on. So like that.
Are your services in English?
Yeah.
Which,
Now the new generation, like my son and younger, the kids that born in America do not know our language very good. So the priest has to, come with something like he prayed and very related in Arabic, so all people can understand some. But mostly it's in English and Coptic language. And Coptic is everybody has to know it. The church, the praying thing. I cannot make conversation in Coptic, but the hymns I have to know the words, what the words mean, what the prayer means. So English, Coptic, mainly, and then a little bit in Arabic.
So if we came to visit one, if we
Yeah.
came to attend one of
Everything
your services, we would be
we
able to
have-
understand.
Yeah, completely. Everything is translated in English, mainly English. So if you convert to Arabic for 2 minutes, you can look at the TV and you will see the English translation. So you will be following. Yeah, all the kids do not. The kids won't understand nothing if the priest does not speak English.
Are your services on Sunday?
And Sunday 8:30 to 11.
And Saturday.
And Saturday. But unfortunately, we work on Saturday. And
Oh, yeah, so do
I would like to go and show you and tour you around. Unless, yeah, if we can come up with a date or something, we can reserve a place for you, and I would be with you. Like if you need anything, everything is translated. But if you need any explanation, I would do it. You are more than welcome.
I grew up going to Coptic, the Russian Orthodox Church.
And we would have different greetings for each season. Like after Christmas, you would say like Christ is born, and you'd say it, and then the response would be glorify him, and we'd say it both like in English and in Church Slavonic. Like, do you have any like similar things like in the Coptic language that would?
Yeah, we in Easter everybody in the morning has to say Christos Anesti, and the other one will answer Christos Anesti.
Okay, so
It means like
great.
Jesus risen, and then truly risen. Like I met my friends, even the priest when he meet us, he has to say like Jesus has risen, and I have to answer truly risen. In our languages, Christos Anesti, Christos Anesti. We have this tradition. Yeah, it's the same soul. Like my wife's sister is a nun in Egypt, and when we came to America, she's still there. And when we came to America, the priest took us to a trip to a Greek monastery. And once we entered there, we met the nuns. They have the same dress and everything, but the soul is still there. And I told Ryan, there's something very similar, something there. It must be something in common. How come thousands of miles between Cairo and Pennsylvania, and they still walk the same, talk the same? Even when you look at their eyes, it's the same. It must be something. And then after thinking, you'll find out it's Christ. The only thing in common between them is Christ, the faith. How they are so convenient, how they are so happy and live in joy. They don't have to care about money, kids, work, clothes, laundry, food. They don't. They only pray and serve the monastery. That's why the eyes, they make more and more praying. So both of them. So both of them end up with the same look, the same walk. It's amazing. If you go there, you will get amazed. It must be something. It's like a theory. I always remember like a scientist told Lamarck. He said that any organ you use more, it will get bigger. Like soccer player has bigger quadriceps and so on. So this is about the body. What about the soul? If you use your soul more, you will be different. There's something I skip in our history. That many monks had turned to be moving from one place to another in a second. Like, for example, we have thousands of them. But, for example, they can talk to each other in distance. And, for example, say, okay, tomorrow we can make a liturgy in Allentown, our altar in Allentown. So you would come in the morning and you would find out that they did the liturgy, they prayed a liturgy here. It's more praying, just makes their bodies nothing. So it's only soul. They move from one place to another without even people unite them. The most famous one is Mother Irene. It's from the recent history there. She passed away 3 years ago. And one day there was a trip going to a monastery, and they had an accident and lots of kids died. And of course, their family's been so grieved and crying all the time. And she was not feeling well because she was, kids died and she was not happy. And one day, every nun has her own room. And then one of her sister nuns came one day, kept on knocking, and Sister Irene or Mother Irene did not open. So after a while, she got curious. What's going on? She was scared something happened to her. She opened the door and entered, and she couldn't find her. And then she said, "I'm going to get a chair and sit down here to see what's going on." Until a while, Mother Irene came out of the room, and she found this sister. She said, "Oh my God, what are you doing here?" She said, "Mother, I'm not going to leave until you tell me what happened." She took her in and she told her the story, and she told her not to tell anybody until she had been taken to heaven, okay? and she saw the kids there. And she said, all the kids, all the little ones, turned to be angels. And this, she told them, after that, she told the family what happened. And now we know that information that all little kids at best, like sometimes, why did you create them? Why you're gonna take them that young? Why? We don't understand with our mentality, with our thinking. But the good news is he took them as angels. They turned to be angels. They never commit any sins. They are, you know. So this is how it is. She predicted lots of things. She made many miracles, and she was moving from one place to another, from one country to another without people knowing. So it's another degree or strong faith. I didn't have time to write this down, but it needs like many and many lectures to tell all about it. We have a huge theology there, and it needs to be told. The community here do not know much about our life. Maybe it's a step. Maybe more people will ask me to tell them about our history or something that will be a blessing for me.
Your priests, now you're mentioning none. Are your priests celibate as are the nuns and the monks? They don't marry?
No, our priests married. They are
Your
different.
priests married?
Yeah, our priests married, but monks and nuns no.
Okay.
Actually, they have to get married before they become priests. They have to.
Oh,
Because they serve in the world, and it's tough. Like you have to sit down with our priest, and he will tell you at 3 a.m. in the morning somebody will call him. I have a fight with my wife. Can you please come over to solve it? And he has to put on his clothes and go to their house to try to calm them down and solve it. So, especially the immigrants here, we consider the priest as like a father of all the family. We love him, and everybody consider him a father, even if he's younger in age. We still, I mean, he's leading the community, and he always want to follow with us, and he always send verses here and there to encourage us. Everybody in problem, he solved. He visit people in hospital. It's a lot. So without a wife, it's kind of hard. It's possible.
Any other questions before we?
Oh, young people, do you want to ask me anything?
Quiet today.
Yeah.
No, Ryan, you look like you want to say
No,
something.
I'm just blown away. That was a very good presentation.
Yeah.
Very good.
Thank you.
Well, thank you for coming here and
You're welcome.
Rania,
Yes.
Nina.